Let's start with a truth most men don't want to hear. Women don't chase nice guys, hardworking guys, or guys who say all the right things. Women chase men who naturally behave in ways most men are too afraid, too insecure, or too distracted to embody. And the funny part? These behaviors have nothing to do with looks, money, or status, yet they change everything. Here's the controversial part. Every man who complains that women never choose him is usually showing women exactly why they shouldn't. Women may be emotional, intuitive, unpredictable, but when it comes to choosing men, they are surprisingly consistent. They move toward the men who move toward themselves. They value the men who already value their own identity. They respect the men who don't bend for approval. And they chase the men who don't need chasing. Modern men often believe the formula is to try harder, to prove themselves, to be overly available, to constantly show effort. But in reality, women are drawn to the man who isn't performing, isn't begging for attention, and isn't afraid of losing her. Women feel something different around that kind of man, something they can't easily explain but they instantly recognize, a sense of internal power. This video is going to teach you the exact behaviors that trigger that reaction. Not manipulative tactics, not cheap tricks, not fake confidence, real, natural habits that make women put energy into you. If you pay close attention, you'll realize something else. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to stop doing the things that weaken you and start doing the things that naturally raise your value in a woman's eyes. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some men get chosen effortlessly and why women chase them without being told to. 1. He doesn't need female approval. One of the most powerful things a man can do, yet one of the rarest, is to live in a way that isn't shaped by the desire to impress women. Most men don't realize how obvious it is when they're performing for female validation. Women can sense it instantly, the over-explaining, the nervous politeness, the desperate desire to be liked, the fear of saying something she might not approve of. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The more approval you seek, the more you push her away. Women don't chase the man who tries to fit her expectations. They chase the man who lives by his own. A man who doesn't need approval creates a different emotional experience, one that feels stronger, more stable, and more attractive. This doesn't mean being rude or rejecting women. It means you're not controlled by whether she praises you or not. When you don't depend on her opinion to feel confident, your energy becomes grounded. You speak differently. You move differently. You make decisions based on what's right, not what will get the best reaction. Women are drawn to that because it shows independence, self-trust, and emotional strength. A man like this doesn't break himself to earn attention. He doesn't soften his personality. He doesn't panic if she doesn't respond right away. He doesn't adjust his entire life around her mood. And that's exactly why women chase him. Because he feels like a complete man, not a man searching for permission to be himself. Most men weaken themselves by thinking approval equals love. It doesn't. Approval seeking tells her you are unsure of yourself. Women may appreciate your effort, but they don't feel compelled to pursue you. When you stop chasing validation, you allow yourself to stand out effortlessly because confidence becomes natural, not forced. Here's the truth. Women are far more attracted to the man who chooses himself over her opinion. Not because he's arrogant, but because he's stable enough to exist without needing her approval. That stability makes her feel challenged, curious, and drawn in. It creates mystery, not as a tactic, but as a natural result of a man who is secure in who he is. When a woman realizes she can't control your identity, she becomes more invested. When she sees you're not shaped by her reactions, she respects you more. And when she observes that your confidence doesn't depend on her validation, she views you as rare. And women chase what they view as rare. 1. A man calmly holds his opinion during a disagreement instead of quickly switching sides just to keep her happy. He stays respectful but firm, and she ends up trusting him more, not less. 2. He walks away when respect drops. One of the strongest signals a man can send, one that women instantly feel, is how he responds when his respect level drops in a relationship or interaction. Most men tolerate disrespect because they fear losing the woman. They stay quiet to keep the peace. They accept behavior they shouldn't, and they hope things will fix themselves. But here's the controversial truth. Every time a man ignores disrespect, he trains her to lose attraction. Women don't chase the man who tolerates anything just to keep her. They chase the man who is willing to walk away the moment he feels his standards being crossed. not in anger, not in emotional outbursts, not in dramatic arguments, but calmly and confidently. That calm exit hits differently. It tells her everything she needs to know about his self-worth. A man who walks away when respect drops understands something most men don't. If you allow disrespect once, you'll see it again. The reason women pursue men who won't tolerate it is simple. His boundaries create emotional safety. She knows exactly where he stands. She knows his value isn't negotiable. She knows he won't bend just to keep her around. That certainty makes him more attractive, not less. Walking away doesn't mean giving up easily. It means you refuse to fight for a spot where you're not valued. It means you'd rather lose her than lose yourself. And ironically, that is what makes a woman reconsider her behavior, reflect on her actions, and often chase the man she thought she could test. A man who maintains his standards without fear sends a message women can't ignore. My respect matters more than your attention. That level of self-respect is magnetic. Women feel it in his tone, his body language, and his decisions. Most men stay because they think leaving means failure. But the truth is the opposite. Walking away with dignity is what separates men who are chosen from men who are used. Women test men not to destroy them, but to understand them. They want to see what kind of man you are under pressure. And the man who calmly steps back when things cross the line proves he's someone she needs to take seriously. The moment she realizes you are not afraid to lose her is the moment she becomes afraid to lose you. 1. A woman raises her voice at him during a disagreement. Instead of yelling back or apologizing just to calm her, he simply says, "We're not talking like this," and walks away. Later, she's the one who reaches out respectfully. 3. He never competes with other men for her. One of the quickest ways a man destroys his presence around women is by acting like he's in a competition with every other guy who shows interest in her. Most men don't even realize they're doing it, comparing themselves, trying harder when another guy appears, showing jealousy, or suddenly becoming overly available just to secure their position. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The moment you act like you're competing, you've already lost. Women don't chase the man who fights for space. They chase the man who already believes he deserves it. A man who never competes with other men sends a signal that is extremely rare and incredibly attractive. He sees himself as the prize, not the contestant. This type of man doesn't rush because someone else is trying to impress her. He doesn't adjust his behavior based on who else she talks to. He doesn't feel threatened when she mentions another guy. Instead, he stays centered, focused, and grounded in himself. That calm confidence stands out immediately. It makes other men look loud, insecure, and restless while he appears unbothered and in control. And this is where it becomes extremely relatable for most men. We've all felt that insecurity at some point. We've all had moments where jealousy tries to push us into acting needy, overly invested, or desperate for validation. But what separates powerful men from the rest is how they handle that feeling. The strong man doesn't try to outperform anyone. He simply understands that if she truly values him, he won't need to compete, and if she doesn't, he won't force it. A man who never competes also understands something deeper. Women are excellent at sensing insecurity. If you appear threatened by another guy, she doesn't think he must really care. She thinks, he must not believe he's good enough. That single shift in her perception changes everything. Attraction drops, respect lowers, and she starts to see you as emotionally fragile. But when a man stands firmly in who he is, regardless of the presence of other men, women see strength, stability, and certainty. They feel it. They respond to it. It creates an emotional contrast. Other men chase her attention, while he already commands it through his energy alone. Here's the truth most men avoid. If she has to choose between men, the one she picks is usually the one who acted like no competition existed. Not because he's arrogant, but because he believes in his value without needing to prove it. A woman cannot chase a man who is busy chasing other men, but she will chase the man she feels cannot be replaced. 4. He puts his purpose before romance. One of the biggest reasons many men struggle with women today is simple. Too many men place women above their purpose and then wonder why those same women stop respecting them. This is where a lot of men need a hard wake-up call. You can't build your whole life around getting a woman and then expect her to see you as a man worth chasing. Women don't chase men who orbit around them. They chase men who orbit around their mission. A man who puts his purpose first understands something most men still haven't figured out. Your goals, your growth, your direction, these are the things that make you attractive in the first place. Not your constant availability, not your eagerness to please, not your willingness to sacrifice everything for her attention. When a man drops his purpose to focus on a woman, she may enjoy the attention at first, but eventually she loses the feeling that he is someone she can look up to. And this is where criticism is necessary. Too many men today get emotionally lost the moment a woman shows them affection. They stop grinding, they stop improving, they stop being disciplined, they stop being men with direction. They become soft, distracted, and dependent without even realizing it. And then they blame women for changing, when the truth is they changed first. They abandoned the very thing that made them attractive, their ambition. Women chase men who are moving somewhere. A man with goals, structure, and vision creates a gravitational pull. He becomes someone she wants to be part of. She sees progress, she sees passion, she sees purpose. And women instinctively move toward that energy because it makes them feel like they're joining something meaningful. If you want a wake-up call, here it is. Your purpose is the foundation of your identity. Lose it, and you lose yourself. When a man puts a woman before his purpose, he becomes emotionally weaker, mentally scattered, and easier to manipulate. Not because women want to control him, but because he stopped controlling himself. A man who puts his mission first doesn't ignore women. He simply doesn't let romance replace his direction. That balance makes him rare. It creates respect. It builds attraction naturally. Women notice when a man is committed to something greater than attention. They feel the strength behind it. They admire it deeply. And here's the truth every man needs to accept. A woman will always chase the man who is chasing something bigger than her. Not because she wants to be second place, but because she wants to join a man who is going somewhere. 5. He shows interest without chasing. One of the biggest misunderstandings men have about attraction is believing that showing interest and chasing a woman are the same thing. They are not. In fact, they couldn't be more different. Showing interest comes from confidence. Chasing comes from fear. And women feel the difference instantly. Here's where many men go wrong. The moment they like a woman, they overdo everything. They text too much, they overcompliment, they respond instantly, they rearrange their schedule. They make her the center of their thoughts even when they barely know her. They think this proves effort, but what it actually proves is that he has nothing else going on. It shows she is his priority before he's even hers. Women don't chase that. They chase the man who shows he likes her, but doesn't collapse his identity around the possibility of getting her. A man who shows interest without chasing communicates something powerful. I'm open to you, but I'm not dependent on you. That emotional balance is rare. It keeps things exciting without becoming overwhelming. It gives her space to lean in instead of pushing her away. This kind of man doesn't rush the process. He's warm, present, and attentive, but he doesn't smother her with attention. He expresses himself, but he doesn't beg. He initiates sometimes, but not constantly. He listens, but he doesn't lose himself. He is interested, not desperate. And women respond to that because it feels mature, stable, and safe. Chasing, on the other hand, feels like pressure. When a man chases, the woman feels his anxiety more than his attraction. She feels his fear of losing her, his fear of not being chosen, and his fear of not being good enough. That energy turns the interaction into a burden instead of a connection. A man who shows interest without chasing lets the woman participate in the process. He lets her reply. He lets her initiate sometimes. He lets her show effort, and that, ironically, is what makes her put in more effort. When the energy is balanced, attraction grows naturally. When the man does everything, she loses the desire to do anything. Here's the relatable truth for most men. The women who liked you the most were usually the ones you didn't chase. You were relaxed, natural, and yourself. That's the energy women chase because it feels real. Interest shows confidence. Chasing shows insecurity. A woman will always move toward the man who gives her space to choose him, not the man who tries to force the choice. 6. He keeps his emotions controlled, not hidden. One of the biggest misunderstandings men have is believing that being emotional automatically makes them weak. That's not true. Women don't run from a man who has emotions. They run from a man who can't control them. There is a massive difference between feeling something and falling apart because of it, and modern men often confuse the two. A man who controls his emotions is not cold, distant, or robotic. He simply has mastery over his reactions. He doesn't explode when he's angry. He doesn't collapse when he's stressed. He doesn't panic when things don't go his way. He feels everything, but he doesn't let those feelings take the driver's seat. That calmness makes women feel secure in a way very few men understand. Women chase men whose emotional world feels stable, not because they want perfection, but because emotional stability signals maturity. It shows you can handle pressure. It shows you can handle conflict. It shows you can handle life. When a man can't control his emotions, he becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability in men isn't attractive, it's uncomfortable. But here's where a lot of men go wrong. Some take the opposite extreme. They hide everything. They shut down. They act emotionless. They confuse emotional control with emotional silence. But silence isn't strength, it's avoidance. And women feel that too. When a man hides everything, he becomes difficult to trust. She can't connect to him. She can't understand him. She can't feel close to him. The powerful man is the one who balances both sides. He's open enough to be real, but controlled enough to be steady. He can express himself without drowning in the moment. He can communicate honestly without losing his composure. He can acknowledge what he feels without letting those feelings turn into impulsive, emotional reactions. And this is where men can relate deeply. Every man has had moments where emotions took over: jealousy, anger, fear, insecurity, and almost every time it pushed the woman away. Not because you were emotional, but because you lost control of them. Women don't chase the chaos, they chase the man who can walk through chaos and still stay grounded. The truth is simple. Your emotional state teaches her how safe it is to open up to you. If you are unstable, she protects herself. If you are controlled, she relaxes. And when a woman feels emotionally safe around you, she naturally becomes more invested, more loyal, and more attracted. Control doesn't make you less of a man, it makes you the kind of man a woman chooses without hesitation. Conclusion. Here's the controversial truth most men refuse to admit. Women don't chase men because they're nice, kind, or hardworking. They chase men who are already complete, men who don't need her approval, don't beg for attention, and don't lower their standards. And the moment you understand that, your whole perspective changes. Most men spend their lives chasing women, trying to impress, trying to prove themselves, trying to be enough for someone else. And here's the hard truth. Chasing women makes you invisible, weak, and forgettable. Women can sense it immediately, even if they don't say it. The men who are ignored, friend-zoned, or forgotten are almost always the men who believed they needed to earn her attention instead of being a man who naturally commands it. Now, this is where it gets controversial. If you think you're doing everything right and still struggle, it's probably because you're doing it the wrong way entirely. Stop trying to please. Stop seeking approval. Stop chasing. Focus on yourself, your purpose, your standards, your emotional control, and your energy. When you do that, women stop chasing you because they have to. They start chasing you because they want to. I want to hear from you. I want you to share your experiences in the comments, moments when you noticed women chasing you, or times when you felt invisible because you were chasing them. I'll personally read and respond to as many as I can. Together, we'll break down what works, what doesn't, and how to shift your mindset so that women naturally invest in you, not the other way around. Remember, this isn't about tricks or manipulation. This is about becoming a man so rare, so grounded, so magnetic that women can't help but notice. Stop chasing, start living, and watch the difference it makes. You meet a woman you like, and instantly you lower the bar. You accept inconsistency. You accept disrespect. You accept minimal effort. You accept confusion. You accept what you would never accept from anyone else in your life. And then you wonder why she doesn't treat you like a man worth chasing. The truth is simple. Women test you, not because they're toxic, but because they want to know who you truly are. And a man with standards passes these tests effortlessly. He doesn't react emotionally. He doesn't beg for clarity. He doesn't tolerate behaviors that drain him. He communicates what he expects. And if she can't meet it, he's willing to walk away. That's the kind of man who creates attraction without trying.